My wife got pregnant by my brother, so I quietly sold everything, filed for divorce, and walked away while they watched their world collapse. I'm 34. I worked hard, paid my bills on time, called my mom every Sunday, and believed that if you loved someone deeply enough, that love would always be enough. My wife, Emily, was 32. We had been together for nearly 8 years, married for 5. She was warm, intelligent, and outgoing in all the ways I wasn't. While I preferred quiet nights at home, she loved hosting dinners, planning social events, and being around people. I thought that balance made us strong. I thought she needed my calm, and I needed her spark. That's what I believed. Anyway, then there was Derek, my younger brother by 7 years. Derek had always been a bit reckless, the kind of person who lived life like rules didn't apply to him. He was charming in a way that got him out of trouble more times than I could count. When we were kids, he'd take my things without asking, my bike, my favorite games, and somehow I'd end up apologizing for getting upset. It became a pattern that followed us into adulthood. Still, I loved him. He was family. I tried to guide him when I could. I let him crash on my couch more times than I should have. I helped him pay off a credit card bill once when he was jobless. I even helped him find work when he moved back to town a few years ago. I never thought twice about opening my home or my life to him. That was my first mistake. The night everything fell apart was supposed to be a celebration. I had planned a small gathering at our home. Close friends, some relatives, just enough people to fill the room with laughter and conversation. Emily said she wanted to share some news, and I assumed it had something to do with the house renovation or maybe her career. I remember standing near the fireplace, a drink in my hand, watching her move around the room with that effortless grace she always had. And then I saw it, her hand slipping into Derek's as they walked to the center of the room. First, I thought nothing of it. They'd always been friendly. Too friendly, maybe, but I'd trained myself not to overthink those moments. She called for everyone's attention with a smile on her face, the kind of smile that used to melt me. "We have something to announce," she said loudly, her voice tinged with a strange kind of excitement. Derek stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder, his chin raised like he'd just won something. There was a buzz in the room, that kind of hushed curiosity that settles right before big news. I felt a knot forming in my gut. Something about the way they stood together didn't feel right. Then she said it. "I'm pregnant." And it's Derek's. The words hit me like a car crash I didn't see coming. For a few seconds, I thought I'd misheard her. But the silence that followed, the gasps around the room, the eyes turning to me, it all confirmed what I had just heard. My wife, the woman I had promised forever to, was standing in our living room, telling everyone she was carrying my brother's child. And my brother? He didn't even flinch. He smirked like it was a badge of honor. I could feel the room spinning, but I didn't move. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, watching them as they held hands and looked so proud of what they had done. They must have thought I'd fall apart, that I'd break down right there in front of everyone. Maybe they expected me to storm out or plead with her to explain. But I did none of that, because the truth is, I already knew. Not the pregnancy, that was new. But the affair? I had known for months. I had seen the signs, the late nights, the sudden texting habits, the way Derek started coming around more often than he needed to. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I felt it. So I paid attention. I watched quietly. I checked phone records, tracked small lies, noted every excuse that didn't make sense. I had built my own quiet case, brick by brick. I was just waiting for the right moment. So when Emily made her big announcement, I already knew what I was going to do. I let the silence hang for a moment longer. Then I raised my glass slowly, looked around the room and said calmly, "Well, that's certainly news, but I guess no one's heard my news yet." All eyes shifted toward me. Emily's smile wavered. Derek's expression shifted, just slightly. "I sold the house," I said, my voice even almost casual. "A few days ago, actually. The paperwork's done. And I filed for divorce this morning." The reaction was instant. Emily's face turned pale, and her hand slipped from Derek's. She took a step toward me, her mouth opening like she wanted to say something, but I took a step back. I didn't want her anywhere near me. Derek's face twisted into that same arrogant grin he used when we were kids, the one he used when he thought he'd gotten away with something. "You think you can just walk away?" he said, loud enough for people to hear. "You're really gonna give up everything over this?" I looked at him and felt something cold and final settle in my chest. "I'm not giving up anything," I said quietly. "I'm taking back what's mine. You took my wife, but that's all you'll ever take from me." He didn't respond. For the first time that night, Derek looked uneasy. Emily was still frozen, her hands trembling at her sides, eyes filled with panic she was too late to hide. And me? I felt nothing. No pain.
No anger.
Just clarity. I had already emptied the joint account. I had already signed the sale papers for the house. I had even talked to a lawyer weeks before, just in case. Everything was set. There was nothing left for them to hold on to. They had betrayed me, but I had taken control. I turned away from them without another word. I didn't need to say more. The room was quiet as I walked toward the door. Some guests moved aside. Others just stared in awkward silence. And then I was gone. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Real quiet peace. Not because everything was okay, but because I was finally done pretending it was. As I walked away from that house, from the party that turned into a spectacle, from the people who didn't know whether to say something or stay quiet, I felt the cold air hit my face, but inside, I was warm with a sense of finality. I didn't rush. I didn't slam the door behind me. I walked with the calm of a man who had already lived the worst part of the storm and was now stepping out into the quiet that follows. My car was parked down the street, away from the house, so I could get a few minutes to myself before everyone arrived earlier that evening. I hadn't known then that those few minutes would become my first steps into a life without her, without them. When I reached the car, I opened the door slowly, sat in the driver's seat, and let out a deep, steadying breath. The kind of breath that comes after holding in pain for too long. I gripped the steering wheel and let my mind wander. Not back into the hurt, but into the clarity that had come after it. For months, I had been holding myself together while piecing together the truth. For months, I had smiled through dinners, kissed her goodnight, and sat at the same table with my brother. Knowing that behind all of it, something ugly was festering. I had carried that weight quietly. And now, for the first time in so long, I felt that weight begin to slide off my shoulders. I started the engine, let the headlights cut through the darkness, and pulled away from the house that had been ours. Or at least that's what I thought. Now it felt like just a building where I had been played, a stage for their lies, a shell of what I thought was home. The deal to sell it had been finalized days before, a clean, silent transaction. I had already moved what little I wanted to keep into storage. The rest, I left it behind for them to find empty drawers and echoes of a life they destroyed. My lawyer would handle the divorce from here. The only thing Emily would receive was a set of papers and a cold reminder that actions have consequences. As I merged onto the main road, my phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I glanced over and saw her name flashing across the screen. Emily. I didn't answer. But after the third call, I picked it up and read the message that came through next. "Please, can we talk? I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I didn't want to hurt you." I stared at the words for a long time, not because I was considering responding, but because of how empty they felt. Didn't want to hurt me? She had been sleeping with my brother. She had looked me in the eye for weeks, months while carrying his child. And she didn't want to hurt me? I didn't respond. I deleted the message, turned off the phone, and tossed it into the glove box without another thought. Whatever she wanted to say, whatever excuses she had ready, it didn't matter anymore. Words couldn't rebuild what she had burned to the ground. And Derek? He wouldn't reach out. He knew better. He knew I wasn't the same brother who let him take and take without pushing back. He had taken my childhood things, my trust, and now my marriage. But he would never take another piece of me again. As the miles passed beneath my tires, I let the silence settle in. No more arguments. No more sleepless nights, wondering if I was going crazy for thinking something was wrong. No more looking at Emily and wondering if she still loved me. I didn't know where I was going yet. Maybe a hotel for the night. Maybe a cabin somewhere outside the city. All I knew was that it would be somewhere they couldn't reach me. Somewhere I could breathe without feeling the sting of betrayal with every breath. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't just hurt. It reshapes you. It makes you question your worth, your judgment, even your own sanity. For a long time, I thought I was overreacting, reading too much into their laughter, their inside jokes, the lingering glances when they thought I wasn't watching. But I was watching. I noticed every shift in her mood. Every time Derek walked in and she lit up just a little too brightly. I noticed how he started coming over more, how she defended him when I got frustrated about his constant presence. It was all there. The puzzle was always in front of me. I just refused to finish it. But now it was finished. And the picture it painted wasn't one of love. It was one of deceit. One of two people who didn't care who they destroyed as long as they got what they wanted. But they forgot one thing. I wasn't weak anymore. I had been quiet, yes, patient, careful. But not because I was powerless, because I was planning. And that plan had worked perfectly. I had sold the house out from under them, moved the money, filed for divorce, and walked away without raising my voice. I didn't lash out. I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I left with dignity, with strength, with my soul intact. Somewhere along that long, quiet drive, I pulled into a gas station. I got out, stretched my legs, and looked up at the night sky. It was clear. The kind of clear you don't often get in the city. And as I stood there, breathing in the cold air, I realized something. This was the beginning, not the end. Emily and Derek would have to sit in that empty house, the one that no longer belonged to them, and face what they'd done. They would have to wake up every day knowing they took everything from me, and that I still walked away stronger. They could have each other. They deserved each other. But I deserved peace. And that's exactly what I took back. Like and subscribe for more powerful stories of betrayal, revenge, and taking back control. Because sometimes, the best payback is walking away without a word.